There are recoveries happening right now that no doctor can write in a prescription. Tumors that vanished before scheduled surgeries, nerves declared permanently damaged that began firing again after years of silence. Pain that consumed someone for a decade gone within a single night. Medical files exist with these cases, sealed under one phrase that makes every scientist uncomfortable. Spontaneous remise in science has no better explanation for what happened inside those bodies. Jesus did. He did not perform healings as miraculous exceptions to the laws of nature. He performed them as precise activations of a system that was always designed to function perfectly. He used a specific code, an ancient Aramaic word that spoke directly to the body's own intelligence. That word carried a frequency that cells recognize, that the water inside you responds to, that every living tissue has been waiting to hear again. It was not a prayer for healing. It was a command that healing had already arrived. And in the next few minutes, you are going to receive that word for the first time. Jesus did not see the human body the way modern medicine does. For him, the physical form was not merely a biological system. It was a living field of divine frequency, capable of complete self-rest. This understanding was not drawn from Greek philosophy or Roman science. It came from the ancient Aramaic tradition, where the words for body, spirit, and wholeness share the same root, because the ancient mind never separated them in the first place. When Jesus healed, he was not imposing an external force onto a broken machine. He was restoring a frequency that had been disrupted. Modern quantum biology is beginning to grasp what Jesus demonstrated 2,000 years ago. Researchers at institutions like the HeartMath Institute have confirmed that the human body generates electromagnetic fields that respond measurably to intention, sound, and conscious frequency. Your cells are not passive chemical units. They are receivers. They pick up vibration. They respond to coherent sound. And when they receive a frequency aligned with their original design, the body begins to repair itself in ways that confuse every conventional measurement. The monad, the ancient concept of the singular, undivided source of all existence, was the foundation of Jesus's approach to healing. He never petitioned a distant deity to send relief from outside. He activated the monad already present within the person standing before him. He addressed the body directly, the water in its cells, the light encoded in its very structure, the intelligence running through every system. The word he used to trigger this activation was not a petition. It was a declaration. A sonic key, an Aramaic command the body was designed to recognize at its deepest level. That word is Asuta. In Aramaic, Asuta does not mean healing in the passive sense. It means the active return to wholeness. Original design being reinstated with authority. It is derived from the same root Jesus invoked when he commanded the fever to leave, when he told the paralyzed man to rise and walk, when he looked at what the world called finished and spoke restoration back into form. Asuta was not a request. It was a declaration that what had been displaced was being returned right now, in this body, in this moment. Understanding these frequencies is the first step, but mastering their vibration in your daily life is where the true miracle happens. I receive many messages asking for the correct pronunciation and sequence of these sounds, so I have prepared 2 sacred guides to help you bridge this gap. You can find the link pinned in the comments to begin your practical journey today. The human body is approximately 70% water. This is not incidental. It is architectural. Water is not simply a medium for biological processes. It is a receiver. It stores information. It responds to vibration, and this is precisely why Jesus consistently used spoken word, intentional frequency, and sound as his primary instruments of healing. He was not performing ceremonies. He was speaking directly to the water inside the body, reprogramming the medium that every cell in you is made of. The researcher Masaru Emoto spent decades photographing water crystals exposed to different words, intentions, and frequencies. What he documented was scientifically provocative. Water exposed to words of peace and restoration formed symmetrical, coherent, crystalline structures. Water exposed to fear and negation formed fragmented, chaotic patterns. Jesus understood this dynamic 2,000 years before any laboratory existed. When he spoke Asuta over a sick body, he was not performing theater. He was introducing a precise acoustic frequency into a water-based biological system, and that system responded accordingly. The implications are extraordinary. If your body is primarily water, and water responds to spoken frequency, then every word you speak over yourself is either contributing to your healing or working against it. Jesus knew this with complete clarity. That is why he never spoke about a condition as though it were permanent. He never acknowledged disease as having final authority. He spoke a wholeness, restoration, original design, and he spoke it as established fact, not as hope, as declaration. The body heard it. The water held it. The cells responded. What makes Asuta especially powerful is not only its meaning but its acoustic structure. The ancient Aramaic phonetic system was built as a language of resonance, each syllable carrying vibrational properties that interact with the human nervous system in measurable ways. When Jesus spoke, he was not simply communicating information. He was transmitting frequency, and that frequency, spoken with full intention from a state of complete alignment with the monad, still carries the same activating power today that it carried when he walked the earth. If this teaching is stirring a deep resonance in your heart, it is a sign that your soul is ready to return to its original blueprint. To support you in this transition, my guides explain the layers of meaning behind the first sacred words, offering you a path to clear the interference of the world. The link to access these tools is waiting for you in the pinned comment. The cases that confuse medical science share a striking pattern. In nearly every documented instance of spontaneous remission, the person who recovered reported an internal shift before any physical change became measurable. Something changed in their inner world first. A sense of peace arrived. A certainty settled in that the illness no longer held authority. Fear dissolved and was replaced by something patients themselves struggled to name: a knowing, a stillness, a deep signal that something had realigned. Medicine calls this anecdotal. Jesus called it the kingdom entering the body. Modern neuroscience has identified a biological mechanism that may explain part of this. When the brain shifts from stress response driven by cortisol and governed by the amygdala into a coherent, low-frequency state, the immune system dramatically changes its behavior. Inflammatory markers decrease. Cellular repair accelerates. The body redirects resources from defense to restoration. This shift does not happen through willpower alone. It happens through frequency, through a specific resonance that tells the nervous system, the threat is over. Restoration is now authorized. This is exactly what Asuta was designed to transmit. Jesus activated this state in people before he ever touched them. His presence itself carried a frequency that reorganized the nervous systems of those around him. Witnesses recorded that people felt heat, stillness, and an overpowering sense of being fully known and restored simply by entering his proximity. This was not metaphorical. It was the monad expressing itself through a human body so completely aligned with its source that the signal was impossible to resist. Every healer in the ancient tradition understood that the healer's own coherence was the primary instrument, not the method, not the word alone, but the state from which the word was spoken. This is why Jesus consistently withdrew to pray before major healings. He was not asking for permission. He was re-entering full alignment with the monad. He was tuning the instrument that he was, so that when Asuta left his lips, it carried the full resonance of original creation, speaking directly to what had been displaced. The body receiving that frequency had no option but to respond. You were never meant to be a passive observer of healing. Jesus said explicitly that those who followed his teachings would do what he did, and greater things still. This was not hyperbole. It was an instruction. The code he used, the frequency he transmitted, the Aramaic command he spoke over bodies that medicine had abandoned, all of it was designed to be passed forward. To believe. To believe. To be spoken by voices that carry intention and understand what they are activating. The practice of speaking Asuta requires three things that every human being already possesses: stillness, intention, and voice. Jesus demonstrated this sequence consistently. Before he spoke, he became still. Not passive still. There is a difference. Passivity is the absence of engagement. Stillness in the monad tradition is the complete focusing of all attention inward, to the point where the noise of the external world loses its grip, and the frequency of original design becomes the dominant signal in your body. From that stillness, intention is set, not as a wish, not as ope, but as a clear knowing that what Asuta declares is already true in the realm that precedes physical reality. Then the voice speaks. When Asuta is spoken from this state, from genuine stillness, and from the certainty of original design, it travels through the air as organized sound, enters the body's water through the auditory and resonance pathways, and begins interacting with the cellular field in the same way that Jesus modeled. The word does not create healing. It removes the frequency of disease. It restores the signal that was always meant to run through your body before fear, trauma, and the noise of the world interrupted it. You can begin tonight. Sit in silence. Place both hands over your heart or over the area of your body that carries pain or disruption. Breathe slowly 3 times. Then speak a sutta clearly, deliberately, with the full weight of knowing behind every syllable. Speak it 7 times, not as a wish, as a declaration that what was broken is returning to its original form right now, in this moment, in this body. The healing accounts in Scripture are far more precise than they appear in modern translation. When Jesus healed the 10 lepers, the text records that they were cleansed as they went, not when he touched them, not when he prayed over them, as they moved in the direction of his command. This is not a minor detail. It reveals that Jesus did not perform healings. He activated a process that the body completed as it aligned with the frequency he had already released. The healing was set in motion the moment Asuta was declared. The body then carried out the instruction. The man at the pool of Bethesda had been ill for 38 years. Medical logic would suggest that decades of disease create deep biological entrenchment patterns too established to reverse quickly. Jesus asked him one question before speaking restoration. Do you want to be made well? In Aramaic, this question carries layers that translation cannot hold. He was not asking about desire. He was asking about frequency. Was the man's inner world aligned with wholeness, or had he become so identified with illness that Asuta would find no receptive field to land on? The man said yes. Jesus spoke, and a 38-year condition ended in a single moment. This pattern repeats throughout every healing account. Every person Jesus healed demonstrated some form of inner movement toward restoration before the physical change meant. The woman with the issue of blood pressed through an entire crowd in certainty, not hope. The blind man called out louder when told to be quiet. Jairus left his dying daughter and walked toward Jesus in trust. Each of them created an internal frequency of reception, and Asuta, spoken into that receptive field, completed what their alignment had already begun. The monad does not force healing upon a resistant system. It flows into alignment. Jesus was the perfect channel because he was in perfect alignment and spent his entire earthly ministry teaching that you are capable of the same alignment, the same channel, the same Asuta, moving through your voice into a world that is waiting to be restored. What you have received in this teaching is not merely information. It is a frequency reintroduction. You came into this video carrying a body that has heard noise, absorbed fear, and been told by systems both internal and external that certain things cannot change. Jesus disagreed with every one of those verdicts, and the word he used to override them, Asuta, is not locked in the past. It is not the private property of a healer who lived 2,000 years ago. It is a living code, encoded in the Aramaic tradition he carried, available to every voice willing to speak it with understanding. The monad healing that Jesus practiced was never meant to be observed from a distance. It was meant to be transmitted. Every account of his healing ministry ends with the same implicit instruction. Go and do likewise. Speak life. Speak Asuta. Return the body, your body, the bodies of those you love, to the wholeness that was the original intention before disruption arrived. Modern medicine will continue to call these recoveries spontaneous. It will continue to file them under remission and anomaly and cases that require further study. But you now know what Jesus knew. The body is a field of light. Water carries frequency. The monad is present in every living cell, waiting for the signal of original design to be spoken back into form. And Asuta is that signal. Speak it tonight. Speak it tomorrow. Speak it over everything in your life that has been told it cannot be restored. Visit Divine Light Academy at the link below to access my complete guides and start your journey into the living language of the Masters. But before you go, I want to hear from you. What did you feel during this session? Comment the word restoration below if you felt a shift in your energy today. We read every response, and your testimony strengthens this entire community of light. Right now, before you close this video, come to the comments and tell us, what did you feel? What shifted? We read every single response. And if this teaching found you today, subscribe to this channel. Every week, we go deeper into the ancient frequency codes that were always meant to be yours. We are just scratching the surface of this ancient power. Get ready, because in our next video, I will reveal even deeper Aramaic codes that unlock spiritual authority you've never imagined. Make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on so you don't miss this unfolding revelation.